Welcome back to Your Waters and Woodlands with Keith Adcock. Today I'm going to be showing you a several part series of how to establish an orchard, or the basics of how to establish an orchard, and how to plant a tree and maintain it and get it established. But actually before I get into that, I want everybody to meet my second eldest son, Tristan. He just joined the United States Army last weekend. So this tree right here that we're planting is going to be dedicated to his service in the United States Army. He decided to go infantry, and I don't know, I'm proud of him, but he's going to be digging a lot of holes, so before he goes, we'll get him worked out here. Anyway, number one thing before you start anything, a food plot, an orchard, or anything of that nature, as far as deer hunting's concerned, if you're doing it just for, like they have food orchards, or you're gardening, it doesn't really matter. Some of these location topics do matter, but the first thing is all about location. It breaks down in several different parts. Part number one of location is you don't want to spook deer, so you want to put it in a spot where you can access, hunt, and exit your property without spooking any deer, them ever busting you. Over here to the west, I have permission to hunt that section of land. It's about 14 acres. I'm on 17. And then in between my next neighbor, we actually have a group of does that bed down over here. Those does will draw bucks through here. They're just going to be a buck magnet, starting October all the way through December. So they're going to bed down, come through here. I can observe them from my back door, and as you can see, my home is right there. So I picked the house right off the highway, so I have as much deer property behind me as possible. So location's a big thing. You want to be able to irrigate it and things like that. There are many different ways you can do remote irrigating. They have something called a gator bag. You can take a 5-gallon bucket, drill a pinhole in it, fill it full of water, set it by the tree. But I don't want to spend a lot of time where I want my deer comfortable. I want them to feel comfortable most of the year. My family and I, we're coming out here throughout the spring and summer. We're going to enjoy this too. And I also want food here for the deer as well during that time. But I kind of pull off my property come September 1st. I let the land rest. I let everything kind of get into a pattern. And when the wind's right and everything's right, I come in and hunt. So that's a big factor, location. Can you access it? Can you irrigate it? Next thing on location is your soil type. Now, soil breaks down. You want to make sure that your pH of your soil is correct, and I've been working on that for the last couple of years I've lived here. And there are plenty of videos on YouTube about soil pH and how to correct it, soil sampling, and how to do all that. It's a little late for me to show you guys that. I started the channel afterwards, but you can look on YouTube and just type in soil pH, how to correct soil pH, and there's plenty of guys out there that show you exactly how that's done. Now you'll see that I'm on top of a hill. If you look down there, it goes down into a bottom. It's a pretty steep slope down there. So that being south, this is still a south facing slope. It's going to get plenty of sun other than around this red oak right here, which I'll probably hang a stand in. So some of these trees won't get as much sun, but I tested it throughout last year before I planted these trees, and just notated how much sun is coming to this area. And most trees, they need at least 6 hours of sunlight a day. So soil aside, when you're farming, when you're doing an orchard of any type, fruit and nut, you're not farming the soil, you're farming the sunlight. So you want to have sufficient sunlight and sufficient water. You don't want to put a tree down into a bottom where it's going to collect a lot of frost. That's places, all that cold air is going to move right down that bottom. It could stunt the growth of the tree, it could kill the tree, and keep it from being productive. So that's a big factor in location. So everything comes together perfect on top of this hill. The next thing is the soil wants to, you need it to be well drained. If you look here, you can kind of see the terraces, and they built these terraces up to stop erosion on this hillside. So I said, okay, well, it's perfect. I'll put the trees on top of the terraces. I can irrigate it. It's well drained soil. It's going to get plenty of sunlight. And so far it's worked out great. I've only lost 2 trees out of 21. So, and that's due to fire blight. And those things are going to happen. So variety, that's a whole nother topic. But location, 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 location. And you factor all that in. The next part of location is what type of tree and where is it placed in your orchard. In the front, I want all the spring and summer trees. I want them to be able to move down there freely out of my view. I'll also be planting screen and grass in here, probably sorghum in between, just to give them a little bit of sense of security to where they can browse on the summer dropping fruit. And in the fall, they'll move a little bit higher and closer to my stand location where I have most of the Dunstan chestnuts, where I have the variety of apples that drop at that time of year. So it's all about location of where to put the tree. The next thing on location is you have distance between trees. You can keep pruning trees back. They don't have to grow 30 feet tall. You don't have to let them grow that tall. You just basically prune the tree to the size that you want it as it grows. But you're talking 15 years down the road where that's actually going to be a problem. If you look at most apple orchards, they're so tight. They're mostly pruned on a central leader, which keeps a lot of sunlight right around that tree, and it takes up the least amount of space. Open leader is more of like a vase shaped, so they need a little bit more room. So that's a factor you got to look at too. How far your tree is going to be spaced. You still, if you're in the deer woods, I mean, if you look on the ground, there's tons of clover. Deer like that as well. So, while they're browsing on the ground, they pick up the fruit, and they may eat 10 pounds a day of various things as they're browsing through the woods. But this is just soft massed fruit and nuts. So you want to look at all of that and take in a factor. And I would say just watch, several other videos, do your research, talk to local farmers, find out what variety of tree that you want to plant before you even begin. See what works. The U.S. is broken down into growing zones, so you can look at the growing zones and find out what zone hardy works out for that variety. If it doesn't work, what type of diseases for that tree, so on and so forth. So really do your research on your trees. Find out how tall they're going to grow. Again, the spring, summer fruit, soft mass, I'm putting in the front, a little bit harder. The nuts in the rear, along with the persimmons, they're going to grow very tall. So I want them, as that sun is going on that low horizon in the winter time, as it creeps up, everything gets a sufficient amount of sun. Come about June, which is midsummer or summer, you'll have that sun going basically right over the top of the horizon. So everything here will get far more than 6 hours of sunlight. And that's all I've got on this segment. Next, we're going to show you how to prepare and plant the tree, and then after that, things that you can do to help it stay established or get established, and then maintaining the tree.